Okay, let's just get right into it. If you're even thinking about divorce in Ontario, you've probably heard a million different things, right? In this explainer, we're going to cut through all of that noise. We are going to break down in just plain, simple talk what it really costs and, more importantly, what really drives that final bill. The first thing everyone gets wrong is they focus on the court filing fee. It's a few $100, but honestly, that's nothing. It's completely irrelevant. The real shock, the bill that nobody sees coming, is the one that hits your email about 6 months in when you see just how much the lawyer's fees are stacking up. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off right now. $15,000. That's the minimum, the absolute floor for moderately contested divorce in Ontario. And you have to hear me on this, that is per person. And no, that's not the worst case scenario. That's pretty much the starting price if you both have lawyers and you have a few things to argue about. And this brings us to the single most important and honestly the most surprising thing you're going to hear today. Everything you think drives the cost, the big house, the complicated investments, it's not the main thing. The truth, the thing that actually determines your final bill, is how much you and your ex decide to fight. I want you to think about it like this. Every single time you disagree on something, anything, and you have to get your lawyers involved, a meter starts running. And it's not a cheap meter. We're talking $300, $400, even $600 an hour. Every email, every phone call, every nasty letter. Tick, tick, tick. To really see how this plays out, let's just imagine two couples, okay? We've got couple A. They're wealthy, they've got $1.5 million in assets, but here's the key. They are committed to agreeing on how to split it. Then you've got couple B. They have way less, 200 grand, but they are at war over every single fork and spoon. So just take a second. Who do you think ends up with the bigger legal bill? Is it the rich couple with all the complicated finances or the couple with way less money but way more fighting? It is couple B, and it is not even close. This is what I call the ugly math of divorce. Just think about it. If couple B spends $80,000 each fighting over their $200,000 pot of assets, well, their lawyers just walked away with more money than either of them did. The lawyers won, not them. So what specific things really send that bill through the roof? Well, number one, by a country mile, is fighting over the kids. But then you have a whole list of behaviors that just pour gasoline on the fire. Hiding financial documents, making ridiculous demands you'll never get in court. And yeah, sometimes it's just about two people who are determined to make it painful. All of that will cost you an absolute fortune. So knowing that conflict is the real enemy, the biggest decision you will make, the one that gives you the most control over the cost, is the path you choose to get divorced. In Ontario, you basically have 4 options, and trust me, they come with wildly different price tags. On the cheapest end, if you agree on literally everything, you can represent yourself. A step up from that is mediation, where a neutral person helps you to work it out. Then there's collaborative divorce. You each get a lawyer, but you all promise to stay out of court. And then there's litigation. The court battle. Look at that jump in cost. You go from maybe 10 grand for mediation to hundreds of thousands of dollars, easy, for a full-blown fighting court. Okay, so what if you can't drop 20 grand on a lawyer, but you also know you can't do this all by yourself? Most people think it's all or nothing, but that's not true. There are some really smart in-between options that most people have never even heard of. First off, you need to know these names because they are lifesavers. Legal Aid and JusticeNet can get you a free or cheaper lawyer if you qualify. The Law Society will literally give you a free half-hour call with a family lawyer just to get you pointed in the right direction. And Duty Counsel is like an emergency lawyer who can help you right at the courthouse. You have to check these out. And here's another game changer, unbundled legal services. Look, it's a fancy name, but the idea is simple. You don't have to hire a lawyer for your entire case. You can just hire them for one specific job, like maybe to review a separation agreement you wrote up, or to coach you for a court appearance. You get that expert advice exactly when you need it without the massive price tag of a full retainer. All right, before we finish up, I have to talk about one last thing. This is a huge hidden trap that catches almost everyone by surprise, and it can completely change the financial outcome of your divorce. So let me just ask you this straight up. Do you think it's possible, after paying your own lawyer tens of thousands of dollars, that a judge could turn around and order you to pay for your ex-spouse's lawyer too? The answer is a big fat yes. It's called a costs award, and it's basically the court's way of punishing bad behavior. If a judge decides that you were unreasonable, you hid documents, you refused a totally fair settlement offer, you just drag things out to be difficult, they can make you pay for a chunk of the fees you force the other person to spend. The bottom line is that being unreasonable has a literal price tag. And this is so important. It applies even if you're representing yourself. The judge holds you to the same standard. If you waste the court's time and your ex's money, you could end up writing a very big check to their lawyer, even if you don't have one of your own. So how do you stay in control of all this? Well, it really comes down to a few key things. 1, know your numbers. Understand what the law says you're entitled to before you start negotiating. 2, disclose everything and do it early. Hiding stuff just makes the lawyers rich. 3, settle the easy stuff. Don't fight about everything, only fight over what you absolutely have to. And finally, number 4, always do the math. Ask yourself, does it really make sense to spend $30,000 fighting over $10,000? The answer is almost always no. And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. As you go into this process, you're going to be thinking about your assets, the house, the pension, the savings. But that is the wrong question. The most important financial question you can ask, the one that will truly determine your future, is what is the cost of conflict?